Well, there you have it, guys. Sold as is. A $20 bill. Well, hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. Ain't that a beauty? Now, really, it is a good looking little saw. I just recently picked this one up over last weekend, and yes, if you didn't read that correctly, need another look. As is, 20 bucks. I think I'll just stick that over here as a keepsake. We put it over there on our marker board because that's kind of what we use marker boards for. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's well. Starting reminders. Maybe that's why it wouldn't start. I didn't go by that procedure, but this saw's a no start. I kind of figured it would be. It did have some fuel in it that it didn't look bad. It didn't look good either, but we're going to go over this thing and just make sure there's nothing real visible out of place. I didn't put a lot of time and effort into trying to get it to start. It was just a no start, and well, as you could read, sold as is, and kind of looks like the chain brake's non-functional. The trigger feels kind of funny on it. Does feel like the carb and all that's going to work well, but little Husqvarna she's a little husky 142. I've got a 41 over in the other building that I'd bought off of that same old man at the flea market that I bought a bunch of saws off of. However, I always forget that I have that, and I'd bought several different air filter setups that were supposed to be for that saw, and lo and behold, none of them fitted or would work. So I don't know whether somebody's got something kind of rigged up in there to where things are different. Haven't really put a lot of time or thought into it, but that little saw did run and was complete and would cut. It just was kind of lacking an air filter, but I really think that if anything, maybe we can take the two and make one decent saw, because I think that other one, it kind of looks rough, and I'm pretty sure I kind of really overpaid for that one. But with that said, by now you've seen the video on the 261. I think I made a little video on the little Craftsman that I picked up that same day, but who knows when you will see that. I think it was a short form, but let's just get into this thing and see if we can make something happen with it. I think the first thing we want to do is take the loose chain off, because, well, that might cut. Just might. Who knows? Sometimes they can fool you. It's dull, but it ain't. Doesn't look like it's smashed up dull, like it's, you know, been trying to grind rocks or something. But I think we can make that cut with just a little bit of attention. I'm pretty sure when I picked up that scrunch, I may have thrown my magnetic tray across the shop because it's not on the bench. Be cool if we had a rim sprocket on this. If not, I think I have one over there in the other shop somewhere. Or it could be over here, and we have a really chewed up, worn out spur sprocket. It'll be the same clutch rim that, like your little bitty pullins. We call them a pullin here, which I think is the proper term. I should have spun the camera around because that thing was just laying right in my chair. But that's good. At least we didn't have to get down on the ground, dig around for it. So we can cut with that, but boy, it was rough. I don't know if you guys will be able to get into there to it to look. Maybe if I point it might focus, but I would say she's got some time on her. And honestly, it looks like somebody was kind enough to go ahead and remove the two only screws that were in this melted and chewed up top cover. They went ahead and backed those out for us, so that's awesome. We'll be looking for a screw to go back in that check that out. They were also, that same person I suppose was kind enough to not put one of the air filter screws all the way back in. That's so nice of that person. But anyway, it looked like they'd been trying to get that one out. It's just, you might not be able to see it, but it's kind of rounded on the sides. That air filter doesn't really look that bad. And if you can see where I'm pointing there, I was mainly wanting in there to see a fuel line, what it looked like. It kind of comes up behind this like air filter base and comes around and back into the tank. There's what was laying in the tank. So we found the problem with the saw, but the bad part is I swear guys, I have to look over in the other shop, but I don't know that I have enough of that fuel line to do this job on this. So, and there's the strainer. And some people may say, well, why would you want that saw? It was 20 bucks. It's something to play around with. And those of you that follow the channel know the very first saw I ported is that beast sitting right there, if you can make out what it is. That is a WT 4018 Wild Thing that I bought new in hopes to cut firewood with, like probably a better part of 20 freaking years ago. I'm gonna say it was around 04 or 05. The little Super 2 I was using at the time kind of gave up the ghost. And you may wonder, well, what does that have to do with this saw? How about the third saw I'd played around with? Was one of these, but it was a 1-41 from what I remember. Which is more than likely the same saw. I highly doubt there's any difference between any of them, from the 41 to 140, 141, 142. There's a 136, a 138. I actually have parts to a couple John's Red 2036 turbos, which was about the 4th or 5th saw that I played around with. Anyway, long story short, that saw, it ran really good for a 40cc. I'd done the muffler mod, timing advance, you know, all the cool things that what few people back then were showing us to do, and I'm talking 8 years ago. Did change the timing on it, it did lose compression, but it ran 10 times better than it did stock. I even remember the exact numbers I put into the saw. It was 100, 120, and 80. Because the feller I was watching back then, it seemed to be what he used on all of his 350s that he built, and they seemed to run really good, but it's kind of went crazy since then. And just like that, we have the whole dang saw part just to put a fuel line in it. That's a Husky for you, but it's no big issue. Just we already had most of it off with the carburetor. Let me see if we can get a fuel line in this and get it slid back together, and we'll go from there. Alrighty guys, we got a new fuel line in. There was some screws missing for the AV mounts. I figured out what the big busted up piece of rubber, I don't know if I mentioned it, kind of fell out of the cases. They kind of had that jammed down in there to keep the saw tight, but I've got all 4 screws back in the AV mounts, so she's feeling pretty stiff now, and the handlebar was a little loose, but let's see if she'll bust off and run. Or at least I hope so anyway. It does have really good compression. Well, that's not good saying this is the problem, but I'm sure they just grabbed whatever plug they could find out of whatever was stuck in it. So we'll just give it a little drink while we're here. Why not? Spray some carb cleaner and dry cylinder, and got one of Farmer Tech's finest. cheapest way to get you a bunch of spark plugs when you make an order. People hate them. Others wouldn't even know they were there. But let's just see here. Maybe, just maybe, that's the issue at hand. Idling looks got an air carburetor on this saw checked fine. That doesn't mean something wasn't stopped up. I did not go into it, but down in behind this, I'm gonna call it a carb plate, intake plate, you have like a rubber grommet that connects the what's an intake boot, but there's no clamps or anything. It's kind of a piss poor design, but it works. And then right beside of that, if you've dealt with a Husky 50 through 55, you have that little silicone insert that goes into the cylinder. I'm almost willing to bet, I think I might have one here, but I don't know if I'll get into it today, that that thing is the culprit of why this thing is not wanting to bust off and run. With your impulse line is exactly what. So guys, sadly enough, this one's probably going to need more than the just the fuel line. The carb seemed fine, but who knows, it could have gunk all in it. But I would say it's that little impulse nipple that goes into the cylinder that connects the impulse for the carburetor. That's something really common on about all of the saws in this era that had that set up. But benefit of the doubt, we'll give it another pull. Actually just firing on what I'd sprayed in it. We have moved things around because the trigger honestly came up out of it, and it was like finding a needle in the haystack, finding that and all of the leaves laying around. But you guys let me know if you want to see this fixed. If not, I'll probably just tinker around with it off camera and fix it and send it on down the line. Or, you know, if maybe we should modify it. I mean, technically I don't have anything in it. It's kind of the deal I made with when I bought the 261. I kind of gave them what they were asking for the 261 if they'd just kind of throw this in, and me not knowing what was wrong. But you know, on the shelf I'd done that, and I said that thing will run, or we can make it run anyway. And as you can see, it'll run. Starts on a prime super easy. So nonetheless, we'll get a carb kit and order that little it's like a little silicone, looks like a little piece of hose. But I've tried to make them out of other things, and sometimes you can get lucky and they'll work. But we'll just order the proper part. It's only a couple bucks for the OEM one, so we'll do that in a carb kit and maybe go into it and fix that, and maybe do some before and after modification videos on it. That may be cool, or you know. Anyway guys, sorry for nothing exciting. We'll get into something fun sooner or later here. You guys have a good day.